All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this week's webinar. We have a very, very special guest with us today, Dr. Kleinberg. He's the founder and president of Kleinberg Corporate Wellness. So welcome.
Thank you, Trista.
No problem. I'm glad to have you here.
It's nice to be here.
So myself included, with the majority of employees, as you know, probably spend 40 plus hours a week on their desks, and it can really start to take a toll on their physical health. I noticed this immediately, actually, within my first few weeks at Optimity, that I really needed to mindfully up my physical activity routine. So Dr. Kleinberg has joined us to share his expertise with workplace posture and movement. And I'm your host, Trista Chan. So I'm a wellness advisor here at Optimity, and I'll go a little bit more into my role later on, but essentially what I do is I work with organizations across industries to really create customized wellness programs that target their high cost issues. And while we're waiting for our guests to fill in today, we're just going to go through a little bit of housekeeping tips. So first and foremost, please connect to your audio using your computer's microphone and speakers. You can also turn on your sound by switching the Use Telephone option once you've actually joined the webinar. Of course, all guest lines are muted so we can avoid background noise and ensure everyone has high quality audio. And after the webinar, all the slides and even the webinar recording will be sent out to you for you to keep on file, for you to share these tips and strategies with others at your organization as well. So I'm just going to provide a quick summary of Optimity. What we do is we're a digital wellness platform that helps employees be successful at work through something that we call micro-habit training. So we help improve employees' quality of life, and we're used by organizational leaders to understand the pain points of their employees' health. So what we are is we're a fully integrated solution. While we use mobile apps, we use wearables, and we also use an online portal. And for the employees, they're able to get an integrated digital health coach while being able to compete with their friends and being rewarded for their healthy behaviors. So this is an agenda of what Dr. Kleinberg and I are going to go through today. I'm just going to quickly give you an overview. So our special guest here is to talk about workplace posture and movement. He'll start off with health definitions, why posture even matters, and movement in the workplace. He'll share some trends in the current work environment, the negative health outcomes that are associated with this, and also the financial impact it has on businesses too. There's a silver lining, so he will be sharing strategies that you can implement now to see immediate positive results, and share some case studies and results that he's helped with clients. And I'll take back the floor, talk a bit about Optimity's digital wellness program and how it can help with physical health and holistic health, share some strategies, case studies, and results, and share two tried and true tips that we've used to get the highest participation on strategic wellness programs. And I'm very happy to introduce our guest, Dr. Kleinberg. So Dr. Brian Kleinberg has been a licensed chiropractor since 1982. He's been the director of a successful multidisciplinary health and wellness clinic in Thornhill, Ontario, actually my hometown,
Right.
Since then as well. For the past 34 years, he's worked as an occupational health consultant and coach to numerous corporations and thousands of individuals. His corporate health and wellness programs are tailor-made to uniquely suit the needs of his corporate clients. And as president of Kleinberg Corporate Wellness, Dr. Kleinberg delivers a vital message of active and healthy living at work and at home. So he's a very much sought after public speaker whose enthusiastic message of living a healthier, more proactive lifestyle always impacts his audience. So we're very glad once again to have him here. And I'm Trista, once again, wellness advisor at Optimity. I'm a certified workplace wellness specialist and a nutritionist, And as a wellness advocate, I work with clients not only to customize their program, but to also share the best practices and strategies on running effective ones. So, Dr. Kleinberg, I'm just going to pass the floor on to you.
Thank you, Trista, and welcome all of you who are listening in today or will be in the future. I want to, first of all, start off with some ideas about workplace posture and posture in general. And I often find in my presentations to groups that the best thing to do is just use a few definitions to understand what posture is all about. So posture is defined as the position in which you hold your body and limbs when standing, sitting, or lying down. Good posture is a consistent awareness of proper static and mobile positions which don't strain your body. And good workplace posture is an awareness of static and mobile body positions while engaged in daily work tasks. Now, to some of you that might seem very elementary and very simplistic, but the fact of the matter is that there's nothing simplistic about posture. Posture is a very significant and important idea when it comes to human health and wellness. And unfortunately, a lot of people today are not really paying enough attention to their posture in general, and especially their workplace posture, which is what we're going to talk about. So why does it really matter? Poor workplace posture can lead to muscle, joint, and nerve damage and chronic pain, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that shortly. Poor workplace posture can lead to cardiovascular illness and other diseases. People who sit for long periods of time can develop all sorts of health issues as a result of their circulation being very poor. Good workplace posture helps to prevent workplace injury and illness by helping the body work more efficiently with less fatigue. Good workplace posture promotes good health, productivity, and job satisfaction. And in my professional practice, and also in my consulting practice, I often find a lot of conversations take place about the ideas about posture. People will say to me, well, Dr. Kleinberg, I know my posture is terrible. I know I don't sit properly, but what can I do about that? And really, the truth is, for a lot of people, they're so consumed by their work, they don't really have time to think about it, especially in our high-tech workplaces. We'll go to the next slide. Okay. All right, so first we're going to talk about pain and injury in the workplace. This first few slides are really the kind of negative slides or sad slides, I call them, talk about the things that just don't go right. But I promise you there's some good ideas to come. But we have to talk about this first. And first of all, how does it affect us as human beings? What does all of this bad posture add up to? Well, first of all, in my practice, I see numerous musculoskeletal conditions, and many of them related to the kind of work that people are doing. Very commonly, I'll see people with neck, upper back, and lower back pain, so a lot of spinal-related issues. And some of those spinal-related issues can also end up becoming extremity issues as well. People can have symptoms in their arms and their legs, which relate to their spine. There are specific extremity pain syndromes, such as carpal tunnel syndrome, rotator cuff tendonitis, and tennis elbow. What's interesting is when I trained many years ago, many of these conditions might have been more sports medicine issues, but as people started using computers and other technologies, they became workplace related. And it's very common for people to have tension headaches and other types of chronic pain which are associated with the kind of work that they're doing. So it's very interesting to look at what the impact is on the body, right? So first thing we look at in terms of signs and symptoms, a symptom is something that somebody would come to me with a complaint about. So this is my complaint, Dr. Kleinberg. I have pain, I have swelling in my joints, my muscles are tight or they're actually in spasm, they're locked. Numbness or tingling sensations in the extremities like the hands or the toes, sensations of dizziness, and even depression, which is really a kind of separate topic, but it's related because a lot of people who have these symptoms over a period of time have anxiety about them and can even feel depressed at times that they're not feeling well at work. What is the functional effect on people? People have less coordination and as a result have more of a tendency to have accidents. People find that their concentration levels are low, and people will often say to me that they're just more fatigued as a result of the combination or accumulated effect of all these symptoms. the practical impact, especially on people and especially on the work place itself, people are just less productive. When you're not feeling well, you just cannot concentrate as well on your work. And a lot of people, unfortunately, will end up at some point missing work or being off for a period of time. That we call absenteeism. The other term that I present here on the slide is presenteeism, which some of you may not be familiar with. But really what that is that the fact is the person is at work, they're sitting at their desk, they're doing their work, but they are in so much discomfort, their symptoms are so strong that they cannot possibly concentrate well on what they're doing, and eventually, unfortunately, that can lead to absenteeism. But even if a person is at work and not doing their work productively, that's going to impact on the bottom line of the company. And in fact, the bottom line is, if we're talking about workplace, the cost. There is a cost involved with people having these musculoskeletal disorders, or MSDs. Each year, MSDs account for more than $15 billion in workers' compensation costs. Now, these are figures from the United States, but on scale, if we look at it in terms of Canada, you can imagine that the number is still in the billions. Conditions that can lead to MSD problems include repetitive movements that increase pressure on nerves and irritate tendons. So if you have a job which you do over and over again, whether it's a job that you are doing an active movement like using your fingers constantly without taking a break or working on a mouse, or what you're just sitting still, you're not moving. So your shoulders may be locked in one position. Your spine or your neck is forward, and that's also going to eventually lead to strain. Sitting in awkward positions or straining the neck to look at your computer screen that is too high or too low. Static postures and a lack of breaks from activities. And I find this very often when I actually go into the workplace and I walk around and I see people working in the modern workstations. A lot of people are just bent over their work, their hands are forward, their shoulders are down, and these are all problems just waiting to happen. These are the kinds of things that I'll end up seeing in my practice. And as I said before, the negative impact of bad posture comes to the fore when I see these as symptoms. I mentioned here the financial impact of mental illness because study after study has shown that we are probably underrating or misunderstanding how much mental illness is affecting Canadian workers. And some figures have it as high as $6 billion annually in terms of the financial impact on the Canadian workplace. And many employers have poor stats or knowledge of chronic and mental illness in their workplace. I'm not sure our listeners are familiar with it, but the Sanofi survey is definitely something that you might want to check out. The most recent one came out just last month in June 2017. And in that Sanofi survey, it highlights the fact that employers still underrate or do not have a good grasp of the effect of chronic illness and mental illness in their workplace. Employees will present it more in terms of the survey. They'll say, yes, we have this. Employers don't understand it as much. So that's a problem. So pain and injury in the workplace. What do I see as a practitioner? So for these MSDs, for these musculoskeletal disorders, there's a symptom process and there are outcomes. So I'm going to take it for you step by step so you can understand a little bit more about how this happens. Poor ergonomics, and ergonomics sometimes is what I call a $10 word, or maybe it's more expensive today. Ergonomics is the way you relate to your workplace, to your workstation, to your desk, your monitor, your keyboard, your chair. And if it's not set up properly, if it's the chair's in the improper chair for you, and your relationship to your technology is incorrect, that can affect you, as well as your own poor posture, as we've talked about above. Poor fitness levels. A lot of people are coming to work who are not exercising on a regular basis and therefore have poor levels of strength and mobility, poor cardiovascular ability, lack of awareness and education. A lot of people just don't seem to know what they should be doing and how they should be doing it. Early symptoms ignored. I find this to be a real problem, and people are having pain and stiffness, they feel weak, they somehow feel fatigue, especially in the middle of the day, and they're getting occasional headaches. These are the earliest symptoms of these problems, and yet they're kind of letting them by. They're saying, it's no big deal, until we get to the middle to later symptoms. Now they're starting to feel it more. Now they might be referred to my clinic and speak to me about constant and high levels of pain, dysfunction, they're not able to do certain tasks anymore. And in fact, it can get so bad, it's impossible for them to do their actual work. What's the outcome? Presenteeism, as I mentioned above. A lot of people may come to work and may not want to say anything to their HR department or to their managers, but they want to do the work anyways. They're just afraid to say anything, or they're off, they're absent. There's a definite loss of productivity. The company is losing money one way or the other. Disability costs, even for one or two short-term or long-term disabilities, these can be very expensive. And generally, everybody's frustrated and unhappy. What is the impact on the human body? Poor posture and poor ergonomics can lead to strain in our ligaments, the supportive structures of our body, and our muscles, the structures that help us move, and our joints can become very tense. Poor fitness levels cause us to have less blood flow, less good circulation to our extremities and to our head, to our brain where we need it during the day, because we have to be able to focus and concentrate on the work that we're doing. The result can be increased headaches and an increased danger of cardiovascular accidents. And again, so many young people today or middle-aged people don't realize this, but as time goes on, if they don't change or they don't do something different, these kinds of things the risk of these kinds of things happening increase. Lack of awareness and education, what does that lead to? False sense of security. I sometimes find in conversations with people that, don't worry about it, Dr. Kleinberg, I'm fine, I don't have to do anything, I don't have to exercise, I don't have to take breaks at work, I'll be okay. But definitely you are increasing your chance for injury and illness if you ignore these things. Recently, a new term has been coined in the research world. Sitting is the new smoking. It's kind of out there. It's I'd say some people would argue about it. Maybe it's not as bad, but the fact of the matter is that a number of major research studies that have been done over the last 4 or 5 years have come up with some very startling statistics and observations. For example, one of the studies has shown that if you sit for 4 hours a day, either watching TV or sitting at your computer monitor, you have a 50% increased risk of death from any cause. You have a 125% increased risk of a cardiovascular trauma. There's more chances for you to have high blood pressure or even a stroke or a heart attack. Those are very, very scary statistics, and when all of you out there think about it, we're all sitting for way more than 4 hours a day. In fact, I find just from observation from inside the office and being on site at corporations that most people will admit that they sit up to 10 to 12 hours a day or more. So that's pretty scary. Physical inactivity leads to more than 300 deaths in the United States annually. Now, again, when you break these statistics down, you start to understand that some people may be active, but they may be very inactive at work. And the studies have shown that even if you go to the gym 3 times a week, but you still spend 8 hours more or less very static at your desk, that still puts you at risk. And finally, sitting and inactivity can lead to muscle wasting, which means your muscles become less able, less resilient to do the kinds of work, basic things you need to do every day, like climbing stairs. There's an increased chance of weight gain, which again can up your chances for having cardiovascular accidents. There's an increased chance for depression and an increased likelihood of you developing diabetes and heart disease. So all of these things related to this new idea that we're now observing that a lack of activity is definitely harmful to your health. Now let's get to the positive things. Finally, phew. So much negativity. Trista, I want to tell you that there's some good answers and there's some good solutions. And I'm very passionate about this. I really feel that as a practitioner, as a healthcare practitioner, it is my duty, and I dare say it's the duty of all healthcare providers, no matter what stripe you are, whether you're a chiropractor or a physician, a dentist, it doesn't matter what you practice. It behooves all of us not to share this information with our patients, not just to treat them for the injury and the illness that they have, but to guide them and tell them what they can do to make themselves healthier. So for example, one of the simplest things I tell people to do who I feel are working at workstations in the common workplaces that we have today, take a break. Take at least 1 break, if not 2 an hour. And when you take that break, try to do some stretches. There are many things you can do. I know that your app gives you a lot of guidance in this. So this is something that Optimity does with its wonderful app. Relax your breathing. A lot of people are slumping and their posture is poor and their breathing has become a little shallower so that you don't get the amount of oxygen that really would help your brain, help your extremities. Check your posture when you're taking the break and take a walk. So if you can walk, the American Heart Association and the Fitbit people and some of the other app people will tell you to take a walk for at least 250 steps every hour, if not more. Or if you have time at lunch, take a longer walk. If you work in an area, it doesn't matter whether it's a downtown area or an industrial area. All you need is a good pair of walking or running shoes, and if it's cool outside, a jacket. There's no reason not to. Stand for more work tasks or get height adjustable desk. This is happening more and more. I see this happening more and more in workplaces. Gives people the option, the choice to stand for some other work and sit for some other work. And that's a whole topic, and I don't have the time to get into it. But I usually tell people, 25% of your day, up to 50% of your day, you don't want to do 50, you don't want to do 100% of either. You want to do a mixture of either or. Many companies today are offering on-site yoga, stretching, Pilates programs. This is something that people should take advantage of. It's a great way to keep the body limber and to improve mobility and strength and cardiovascular. And if you work in a building where there's stairs, or you live in a house, or you live in an apartment building, and wherever you are, take the stairs. It's also a great way to improve your cardiovascular. Either have a fitness program in your home, and it's something that you may have taught yourself over time. There are literally thousands of resources on the internet today, YouTube, where you can find videos that you can follow and do some home-based training, or go to the gym, join a class, get into shape at the gym, or just take advantage of the outdoors and go for a walk, go for a run. We're broadcasting now in the summertime, so there's so much you can do outside. You can cycle, you can swim, you can play tennis, you can golf. I always say to my patients, just get out and do some activity. Do it after work, but definitely have a minimum amount of activity daily. And that is so important. That is going along with the research that is being put out there today. I'm going to give all of you a couple of case studies just to sort of give this whole discussion that I've had this afternoon a little bit of a fuller picture, so you can see it from my perspective and you can understand where we go with people when they have these kinds of issues. So in case study number 1, we have a patient. Her name is Anna. That's not her real name. She's 35 years old, and she's an admin assistant and has been for 10 years. She came to me with the symptoms of gradual onset of pain, numbness and tingling in both of her hands, and it was worse on the right hand. Functionally, she was feeling the pain much worse at night. She was getting numbness and weakness of grip, and really overall, by the time she came to me, many of her daily tasks were very difficult. Even just opening a door or opening a can was very hard for her. And diagnosis, based on all the studies that we did, was that she had something called carpal tunnel syndrome, which is a pinched nerve in her wrist, and she also had tendonitis in her hand, and it was primarily on the right hand, as I recall. The factors that led to this were excessive work tasks. She was not taking any breaks at all. She was just working from 9 o'clock until noon. She would take lunch, and then she would do her next shift, and she just was working constantly. It was really tremendous amount of intensity. Her posture, by her own admission, was poor. I had some pictures taken of her at work, and we were able to see what her ergonomics were like. They weren't good. She wasn't into any home or gym-based fitness program, and she just had a lot of personal stress around her. So the whole situation was not good. We did a non-surgical treatment for her, which was great. So she didn't have to have an operation on her wrist. She wore night splints. She came to me for some chiropractic treatment. I did some traction of her wrists. I did some laser, and we gave her some specific exercises to do. Now, because she had come to me at such a late stage, she wasn't able to work for a couple of months. So she missed 2 months of work. She just couldn't do anything. Gradually, I got her back to work on modified duties and hours. And after a couple of more months, she was back to her normal work routine. So you can see a classic example of what can happen when these symptoms go too long, the impact it has on the person, the symptoms and the functional effect, and the financial impact it had on her company. You can only imagine. Currently, and this is the happy news, she's made some tremendous lifestyle changes. She's returned to all her activities of daily living. She can do everything now. She exercises regularly. She's improved her posture. It's amazing. And she got a height adjustable desk, so she stands at work about a quarter of the time, she tells me, and in general, she feels a lot better. So that's one example of how this can go. Now here's another very common story, something that I've seen many times over the years. This patient, Bob, which is also not his real name. He's 55, he's a corporate CFO, and he's been at his company for 30 years. Very loyal guy. He had symptoms when he came into me of severe onset of right lower back pain. His right thigh was killing him, and he had pain in his foot, especially when he was bending. Functionally, he was basically limited to just, he could hardly move. He had to be brought in to see me at the time. He was bent over, he couldn't sit or drive without pain, he couldn't stand or walk. He was basically a basket case, if you want to call it that. He was in a lot of pain. The diagnosis for him was a herniated disc, based on an MRI and other tests that we did. Factors involved in his problem were poor fitness levels. He really was in terrible shape. He was overweight, he was obese in fact. He had very bad posture. His workstation was terrible. Everything was not in a comfortable place for him. And again, there was a lot of mental and physical stress. Some of that mental and physical stress was a part of the problem that he was having, but it also sort of led up to it. Treatment-wise, we did it non-surgically. We gave him some chiropractic treatment, some light manipulation, some other modality treatments like laser and ultrasound, some specific exercises, and I trained him on his posture. The impact on his workplace, he missed 3 months of work due to his symptoms. You can imagine. It was a disability issue. He returned to modified hours and gradual return to work over 6 months. It was a very long recovery, but the good news again in this story is he took it upon himself to get his life into order. He lost 60 pounds. He now exercises 4 to 5 times a week, and he's pain-free. He also uses a height adjustable desk. You can see I'm very big on that. I think it's a great idea. He has a new chair, ergonomic chair, and he's also practicing something called mindfulness, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and that is definitely helping him to reduce his stress levels, and he's improved his posture. So, you can see that if we pay attention at work, at home, in our lives to what we're doing, we don't have to end up like these two situations which I just presented to you. There are some very basic ideas that I want all of you to take away today. Things that you can think about, things you can apply in your own lives, or if you're working in HR, things that you can help your company think about as well. The cost of musculoskeletal, chronic, and mental illness in our workplace is increasing. It definitely is, there's no question about it, and we're recognizing more and more that a sedentary lifestyle, at home and at work especially, has long-term implications. It's definitely harming people, and in fact, we know from statistics that it's probably leading to death in the long run. So, we never really thought of sitting as being such a dangerous thing, but the human body is not designed to stay still for such long periods of time. Our bodies are machines. We are designed to move. And I always tell my patients, even a minimum amount of movement every day is so important. And so anything that people can do will help. And that's why prevention is the key. Instead of having people end up either in presenteeism or absenteeism, we must help to get people more aware of this. Improved posture, increasing daily activities, and changes to lifestyles in terms of their health can definitely help. And what's the long-term impact on the workplace? We have healthier employees. We have people who are more happy to come to work. We have people who've been working for years who will stay with that company. What does it cost to train and hire people, to put them through over and over again, to keep rehiring people because they're leaving the company? Companies that spend effort and money on programs like yours are definitely keeping their employees longer, and productivity increases. We know it because the ROIs are there to prove it. So I'm going to leave it at that and take it away, Trista.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. We will, I know that was a lot of content, so don't worry. Once again, I do want to emphasize that we do have this recorded for you all, so you can take all of Dr. Kleinberg's best strategies and tips away with you. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So now I'm going to give a quick background about Optimity and then focus on how our platform can help improve things like posture, like movement in the workplace, how we can promote that, like Dr. Kleinberg said, and how our content is specifically reduced to decrease the risk of things such as musculoskeletal disease. So at Optimity, we support you with a gamified, fun, yet scientific solution for workplace wellness. We work with Fortune 100 companies to create good practices overall, to improve your quality of life at work, your colleagues' quality of lives at work, and really drive down the overall risk of developing many health conditions over time. So when I work with clients, I often see certain patterns that I've identified in problems for busy professionals like yourselves and myself. First and foremost, there are multiple demands from leadership and colleagues. There are quite a few great ideas that I see being presented all the time, but there is a lack of organization and some trouble in setting priorities that really help all employees. So for example, a large portion of the office staff may request stretches to relieve them of their joint pain or back pain. However, if that same organization also employs field workers, they may have completely different priorities, and this is due to the nature of their jobs, their hours, and their overall work environments. So the main point is that different employees have different wants and needs. There's also some difficulty in terms of coordinating programs and lunch and learns and a lot of traditional initiatives that I see. Many companies are dealing with a dispersed workforce, there's flex shifts, and there's also a bimodal age distribution as well. So namely, there are one, millennials, and there are two, mature baby boomers as well. So both groups tend to have different preferences, different health statuses, different health goals, and you need to find a way to coordinate initiatives, once again, to keep wellness accessible for everyone. And finally, there are new requirements for wellness, such as a need to provide mental health support, a need for more holistic support, so it extends beyond the traditional nutrition, physical activity, but also things such as financial wellness. I'm seeing a lot of increase in that, and mental health. So it's important for organizations to look beyond traditional chronic illnesses and those metrics and support their employees in nutritional, physical, mental, social, financial, environmental, and even intellectual well-being. So that's what we do at Optimity. Our aim is to help companies do better with less resources. And you may be asking, how do we do that? So we do this through our personalized content of our program. So our clients and their employees, they get access to a rich library of hundreds of holistic health contents. And this is in the form of something that we call micro actions. This includes 60-second neck stretches, shoulder stretches, rich stretches. It could be a quick jumping jack challenge, a mindful minute meditation, or a reminder to grab a glass of water, for example. So the idea is that employees can personally choose what goals they would like to work towards and have a health plan created specifically for them. So these types of micro actions is really great when it comes to encouraging employees to take 2 breaks during every hour, as per Dr. Kleinberg's recommendations. And we incentivize employees for doing so as well. So whether it's wanting your office staff to do quick stretches in between phone calls, whether you want to incentivize someone on the manufacturing line to really take more steps throughout the day, we have something for everyone. So with this current client we have, Ontario Centres for Excellence, they actually have a very dispersed workforce over multiple locations with only 2 HR professionals running initiatives across all these locations. So as you can imagine, the ratio is very high, it's very skewed. And if you're in HR, you probably noticed this is a trend in your organization as well. They had a lot of great initiatives, but they were spending a lot of time and a lot of resources just organizing everything for their employees, filling out spreadsheets, putting up posters, sending emails, just tracking the attendance of the programs, and also trying to find a way to cater to everyone's needs. So when Optimity was implemented, they were able to centralize all of their initiatives into one easy-to-manage dashboard. They were able to use the dashboard to send out personalized content through event announcements, through automated emails, and it was really personalized. So you could send everyone their own targeted content, targeted announcements, and just save HR a lot of time. So what Optimity does is we keep your employees healthier with our digital wellness program. And this is just a snapshot of what the employees will be engaging with on a day-to-day basis. It's very user-friendly. So we work with wearables and we work with mobile apps to help you integrate these holistic, healthy micro habits into your everyday routine. It's very social, so employees will get a leaderboard. There's different challenges. You can create your own teams and create some grassroots initiatives through the program as well. And it's also gamified for rewards as well. So there's level progression, and then you also get incentivized to do these healthy actions through gift cards. So we help you your company reduce its business costs. To the right over here is our admin panel, and this is really where the power of the whole program lies. So this is where we'll be giving you the power of the data analytics. So we'll be presenting all your employee health behaviors to you on an aggregate level, of course. And in the specific case of physical health, we can be tracking your employees' micro habits and then pulling the stats from their wearables, from their apps, and the health data from that. So we're going to be able to show you insights into how many employees are, let's say, higher risk for falling into musculoskeletal disorders category. And those specific employees will then get customized content. So those micro actions automatically sent to them at the right time to reduce their health risk. So let me introduce you to another one of our clients. And this is CST Consultants here in Ontario as well. They have about 300 employees, 130 at the head office. And between the years of 2014 to 2015, so just within 1 year, their drug costs went up by 20%. And they were already running things like, the traditional wellness initiatives. I'm sure you've been running the lunch and learns. They were running walking clubs, step challenges, wellness fairs. But there was very little engagement. And this was reflected, number one, by tracking attendance. So it was the same 10 people showing up. And by number two, reflected through their drug cost increase as well. So at the end of the day, it really was not producing any ROI on these programs. So Sherry, the CEO, is actually our main champion there. And she brought in Optimity as a way to boost the engagement for these initiatives. So by going digital, she realized she helped serve busy people. So for call center employees or salespeople, these different departments who were very busy with their own priorities, she gave them a coach in their pockets. It acted as a highly engaging, personalizable, gamified, and incentivized mobile app experience. Their engagement actually hit over 80% within 30 days and was still at about 70% 8 months later. And we've already helped them save $36,000 from a reduction in the drug claims and cost savings from centralizing all of their fragmented employee initiatives. So that totals to about $1.80 back for every single dollar spent on our platform. And if anyone wants to learn more in depth about this particular case study, I'll have my email at the very back. We do have a published case study that focuses particularly on this client, so definitely shoot me a message and I'll be happy to provide you with that. So here are the components of our fully integrated ecosystem. It has a customizable mobile app that is available in 3 languages and is accessible on the desktop and on any mobile device. It connects to over 250 different apps and wearables. We actually provide wearables as well if your employees don't have any. And we have a centralized admin dashboard and database, which gives you advanced analytics that help you retarget content to address those highest health problems. And to wrap this up, I'm just going to give you 2 key takeaway tips that my personal experience as a wellness advisor and as a previous on-site wellness consultant have gotten throughout my career. So yes, Optimity, our award-winning technology can really help you create a culture of wellness, but really beyond that, one of our best practices we always recommend is to go grassroots. So you can practice this with or without technology. You need to recruit those champions for physical activity, for movement, for wellness, or really just take that first step and become a volunteer yourself and start that awareness. You also need to make sure that you build a leadership culture within the staff. So with CST Consultants, for example, the CEO herself was the main champion for our program, and it really does start from top bottom. Having an in-person touch along with digital to really help push healthy content forward and makes it so much more effective. And finally, it's very important, grassroots-wise, to decentralize the efforts, but really centralize coordination and centralize the results as well. So this alone, going grassroots and making sure that the coordination is centralized, but spread out throughout and consistent throughout the whole organization, can really save you hundreds of hours in admin work and just make things much more consistent, much easier, and much more effective. And my second tip is to go mobile. So everyone has a smartphone these days, and people are continually working more flex shifts from home. They're working in different hours, they're working in different environments, and they're just constantly on the go. So by implementing your own bring your own device model, you can give your employees the right information at the right time and also move off tedious things such as email notifications. When I was working at Canadian Automobile Association, I was sending a lot of emails, and I did notice that they were really going on red. So wellness emails are truly a thing of the past. They rarely get checked, they really get dealt with, and a lot of times they just go to spam. Yeah. A system like Optimity is helpful because it helps bring it to the mobile and wearable actionable items, and it gives professionals more health boosts, more data as well. So that's pretty much it for my portion. I'm just gonna let Dr. Kleinberg over here give a quick summary of what he's gonna cover, what I've covered so far, and then yeah, I'll answer any questions that anyone has been submitting at the end over here.
Okay, that's great. That's so interesting. And a lot of what you're saying, Trista, really resonates with the thinking that I've developed over these last few years in terms of wellness in the workplace. Because in Canada, especially, the United States has had maybe a bit of an advantage. We have two different kinds of healthcare systems. So here in Canada, we're doing things maybe we're a little bit behind, but we're catching up. I think that's true. But I think that also in terms of how to apply wellness in the workplace, there's an evolution taking place. Like you said, for example, just before you talked about the emails, instead of doing the emails, there's a different way of doing it, it's a different way of notifying people. So I think that's very important. I talked today about posture and movement, and I really feel very strongly as a practitioner that we have to pay attention. I pay attention in my office because people come to me with a problem. I think that if you're working in HR or if you're in a position to pay attention to see these things, I think a lot of things can be seen earlier on. I think that's a very important message. There's no reason why symptoms should go so far or so long. I mentioned earlier that there's the early symptomatology, and then there's a middle symptomatology, and then there's a later symptomatology. At each level, the impact or the cost to the company is different. Earlier on, the further you head it off, the faster you see it, the better. And if you can prevent those symptoms in the first place, great. So signs and symptoms, things that you see in the workplace, we can cut down on absenteeism, we can definitely cut down on presenteeism and make people more aware that they should speak up and that they should have an awareness of their body. Physical and mental illnesses, the impact in the business today, in the business community, it's huge. And the toll it takes on the human body is just so significant. And there is a lot that can be done to monitor, to treat, and to prevent a lot of conditions from occurring in the first place. I think it is doable, but we need to make a stronger push towards it. Sitting is the new smoking because we have created a work environment today where people don't have to move around so much. And you know, I didn't mention this before. You mentioned smartphones before, and maybe iPads or tablets. People are looking down a lot. Their heads are forward, their heads are down. I spend a lot of time in the office just getting people to sit up straight, stand up straight. People are just losing the awareness of how the body works. And as I said before, the body is a machine, and the body needs movement. It needs a little bit of movement through the day, and definitely beyond your work hours, there has to be something. So, you know, you can strategize to do it with apps like Optimity, which are giving people the encouragement and customizing it, which is fabulous. That's an amazing thing that you're doing. I think that really is very important because each workplace is different. You mentioned before the difference between younger populations and older populations. We have to address that in the workplace and see how we can get people to buy into these ideas better so we can prevent injury and illness from occurring in the first place. And as I said before, the 2 case studies I provided could be literally hundreds and hundreds of other individuals that I've seen over the many years I've been doing this. You know, it's great to be able to help people. That's what I do. You know, I help people get well and I help them get on the right track. But as I said before, I'm very passionate about the idea that we're living in a time right now where we can do so much more to educate and help people be more aware of their health and wellness and their well-being, so that a lot of these injuries don't have to occur, so that we can, you know, prevent the human misery and also help save a huge amount of money to companies.
Well, thanks for sharing your expertise, and I feel like you know, Optimity's, I guess, vision and even just our general opinion around how wellness should be implemented is very much aligned with what your experience have been over the 30 years and what you've been sharing today as well. So thanks for joining us.
It's been my pleasure.
And then I shared a bit about digital wellness implementation strategies, especially with some examples using specifically physical health. So showing you how digital solutions such as Optimity can really help save HR time, effort in running programs while making it more effective. Shared some best practices, some tips as well on such as going grassroots, the importance of that for culture, truly getting CEO and top level support. And finally, I also shared the importance of going mobile. So in our workforce landscape, really just a lot of employees are working flex shifts, they're working in different work environments, and just making sure that all your programs are mobile so that's accessible to all employees.
That's great. Yeah, it's interesting. Workplace engagement, that's a big word today, getting people more engaged in the process is huge. I've seen the failures in workplace wellness programs have often occurred because the employees just weren't engaged in it. And there was no top-down effect. There was no leadership at the top. And so if you don't get a buy-in from the top tiers of a corporation and you don't get that engagement, people don't understand, why am I doing this? One of the hardest things I find in practice is motivating people to take better care of their health. Because people come in with a symptom, just fix me, Dr. Kleinberg, and that's all they want. And then I'm in the process of trying to get them more engaged in the idea that, hey, wait a second, we're going to take care of that problem, but you also have an opportunity here. And I think that's why, if you are talking about that with this app, there's tremendous potential here.
I definitely agree with that. And I see that as well, even when I was at CAA, I was physically running these lunch and learns, actually had someone meditating coming in every Thursday, and it was really just the same people coming over and over again. I was trying so hard to get, those regular people who may have not had their first health crisis, right? So they haven't come to Dr. Kleinberg yet saying, fix me, but they're definitely not practicing any healthy behaviors. And I definitely agree that the main part in that was trying to motivate them to get, an hour of their day, trying to motivate them to completely overhaul their diet, when really I do believe that the science of micro habits and making it baby steps for them, really breaking it down and making it digestible is truly the way to create motivation and long-term behavior change.
I think you got it. I think that's very, very important. People have to be able to say, I'm doing it for myself. This is something I need to do for me. Of course, it's going to help everybody. It's going to help the company. They're going to be more productive. They'll be happier. They'll smile more. You get more happiness in the workplace. But for themselves, if you do something for you and you see the results of it, you see that you're losing weight, you have more energy, you're not falling asleep at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're not telling Dr. Kleinberg like every morning, help me, then something is happening. It's positive.
Great. So I'm just going to go check our Q&A. See if we have any questions here for us today before we wrap up. So we have a question from Jeff here asking how often he should see a chiropractor.
It's a good question. It really depends. Is it Jeff?
Yes, it is Jeff.
Jeff, it really depends on what's going on in your situation. I mean, you know, I have people coming to me who are in acute pain, and that means that the pain is really intense. It just sort of happened recently. They might need to see me more frequently, more regularly. You know, usually acute conditions will resolve within a period of about 4 to 6 weeks, and we hope it doesn't go longer than that. Some people will just come to me for their acute symptoms, and they're happy to do that. I'll educate them as much as I can through that process. And some people like to come to see me on a more regular basis. They'll come in on a maintenance basis, either every month or every few months, to have me talk to them, have me, you know, look them over. A lot of what I do in practice is health coaching, you know, so I do that as well, trying to engage them in the discussion about lifestyle and what they're doing. So again, Jeff, it really depends on your particular situation. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks. And then we have one from Debbie Fraze as well, asking, we have people who want to use yoga balls to sit on at work. What are your thoughts on using the balls, and should they sit on them all day?
It's a good question. And the answer is, it really is, it depends on the person, for one thing. I think yoga balls have a great way of helping people to get their core stability better, improve their balance while they're sitting, so they can replace a chair. And then they have, in fact, there are people who sit on balls through the day. I still think, though, that the mechanism of sitting should be varied. And I still feel that there are many tasks that people could do while standing, like take a phone call. If they have a rising desk station, then they could do more work in a standing position. But yes, there is definitely a place for yoga balls for sitting, but I'm not so sure I'd want them to sit for 8 hours all day. Okay.
And then finally, we have one from Jessica saying, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I must step out, but I'm looking forward to the email follow-up with the slides from the recording. Have a good day. Thank you, Jessica, for your feedback.
That's great.
And we look forward to sending it as well.
Yeah. Good.
So over here, I have Dr. Kleinberg's contact if you ever do want to reach out and have private consults with him, or if you're ever experiencing any, you know, physical symptoms, any physical pain, or you just want to be preventive about it, you can definitely contact him over here. And then if you're looking to implement a holistic health digital program in your workplace and boost engagement, then you can definitely contact me over here as well.
Perfect. Great. This has been great. Really appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much, guys, for attending, and we look forward to our next webinar. Stay tuned for the invites. Bye, guys.
Have a great day.